إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا مولانا محمد عافية الأبدان وشفائها وطب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وآله وصحبه وبارك وسلم دائما أبدا سرمدا نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الساعة لآتية لا ريب فيها ولكن أكثر الناس لا يؤمنون صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين خوف أعظم من بسر سما مدد قبلہ دی مدد کعبہ ایمان مدد قادری امن ارائے خوف اعظم زنم دمز شیخ احمد رضا خان قطب عالم زنم سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد مسلک سرکار اعلیٰ اعلیٰ حضرت زندہ باد یا الہی مسلک احمد رضا خان زندہ باد حفظ ناموں سے رسالت کا جو ذمہ دار ہے سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد حامل فیض رضائے مصطفیٰ امداد کن صلی اللہ علی النبی الامی وآلہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلاۃ و سلام علیک یا سیدی یا سندی یا حبیبی یا طبیبی یا رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا رحمة للعالمين. All praise is due to Almighty Allah. Durood and salams upon the most perfect, exalted and glorified of Allah's creation, Sayyiduna wa Mawlana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His blessings and salutations upon the Anbiya Ikram, Ahl Bayt Athar, Sahaba Ikram, Khulafa Rashidin, Tabi'in, Tabi' Tabi'in, A'immah, Mujtahideen, Awliya, Kamilin, and all those who follow the path until the last day. We thank Almighty Allah through His infinite mercy and through the wasila of Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for blessing us with the opportunity to congregate for Salatul Jummah and to prostrate in His most exalted Lord. Before continuing, let us direct our hearts and our minds and our thoughts towards the holy and the sanctified court of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In doing so, let us collectively recite Durood Sharif. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa nabiyana maulana Muhammadin ma'adimi al-judi wal-karami wa alihi al-kiram wa ibnihi al-kareem wa barik sallu alayhi salatun wa salaman alayka ya sayyidi ya sanadi ya habibi ya tabibi ya Rasulallah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alika وَأَصْحَابِكَ يَا رَحْمَةَ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. ना समझ मरते हैं ज़िंदगी के लिए, ना समझ मरते हैं ज़िंदगी के लिए, जीना मरना है सब कुछ नबी के लिए. ना समझ मरते हैं ज़िंदगी के लिए, जीना मरना है सब कुछ नबी के लिए. Allah Almighty says in the Holy Quran, إِنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَآتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah Almighty, Allah is saying in the Holy Quran, Surah 40, verse number 59. Surah Al-Ghafir, verse number 59. Allah is saying, إِنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَآتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. Allah is saying very clearly, verily, indeed, the hour will come. إِنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَآتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. Indeed, the hour will come. There is no doubt in it. What is meant by the hour? Qiyaamat. So Allah is saying in the Holy Quran, Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fi. Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fi. That indeed Qiyaamat will come. There is no doubt about it. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. But many do not believe amongst the people. But many amongst the people do not believe. In other words, what do they not believe? They do not believe that after you die, Allah will rise you. Many amongst the kuffar don't believe this. That after a person dies, Allah will rise you. That is the Qiyamah, that is the day of reckoning, that is the day of mahshar. That you will be risen. And Allah is saying in the Holy Quran, and we should time and over remember this, Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyah. Indeed, Qiyaamat is going to come. Indeed, Qiyaamat is going to come. Allah is saying, indeed it will come. It's with emphasis in the Quran. It is in the Holy Quran with emphasis. Inna. It is with emphasis. Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun. And then Allah is saying, La rayba fiha. Even though Allah is emphasizing that indeed it will come, Allah is still saying there is no doubt in it. So that it may be understood that it is going to come no matter what anybody says. But وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. But there are many amongst the people who, most of the people don't believe. They don't believe this day is going to come. And there are those who are the believers that believe, but they are becoming unconscious. Becoming unconscious of this reality that inna as-sa'ata la'atiyah. La rayba fiha. Indeed, Qiyaamat is going to come. Allah says that in Surah 40 verse 59 and Surah 22 verse 7, Surah Hajj. Allah Almighty says, وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ آتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. There Allah says, وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ آتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. Allah is saying in Surah 22 now, Allah is saying, and it is because Qiyaamat will surely come. It is because Qiyaamat will surely come, and there is no doubt in it. Both ayats you are saying the same thing. La rayba fiha. There is no doubt in it that that day of Qiyaamat is going to come. And in the verse 7 of Surah Hajj, what Allah is saying? Allah is saying, very importantly, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. And Allah is saying, and Allah will rise those who are in the graves. Allah will rise those who are in their graves. What are we being told? What is the message of the Quran? What is Allah Almighty telling us? That this life, be careful how you live it. Be careful what you are doing in this dunya, because this life is transitory. It is temporary. You are only here in transit. You and I came from a journey. We were in Alam Arwah. Where were we? In Alam Arwah, in the domain of souls. From there we entered Alam Batan. We came into the womb of our mothers. Still in transit. From there we came into Alam Dunya. We came into this physical world, still in transit. From here we're going to go into Alam Barzakh. From here we're going to go into the intermediary world, into Alam Barzakh, the in-between that is between here and your final entrance into Jannat or wherever else, Jannah, depending on whether you live with Iman or not. May Allah take us all with Iman. So this is a journey. This is a journey, and this dunya is the most important part of that journey. And that is why Allah Almighty is reminding us in the Holy Quran that indeed Qiyaamat will come. Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fiha. The day of Qiyaamat is going to come. The day of Qiyaamat is going to come. Today we look at our own lives. Let's look at that verse of the Quran. Let's look at this verse of the Holy Quran. Look at our own lives. Look at our homes. Look at our communities. Look at the environment that we live in. Look at our masajid. Look at our madaris. Look at our own households. If you have a husband who wants to implement Allah's deen, then you have on some side there's a wife who doesn't want it. Hota hai ki nahi hota? On the other hand, you have a wife who wants to implement an Islamic atmosphere and environment, and you have a husband who doesn't want to listen. And sometimes you have the mother and the father who both want to implement an Islamic environment and the children don't want it. And you'll be amazed, there are those homes in which the children want to implement it and the parents don't want it. Do you know what this is? Qiyaamat. It is the sign of the last day. It is one of the signs of the last day, that when the people will reach the state where they will be so engrossed in the dunya. Can you understand homes in which, I hope we think about this. A home where a son or a daughter gets up for Salatul Fajr and the parents are sleeping because they were busy watching dramas at night. It should be that the parents wake the children up for Salah. But today there are homes where the children have to wake the parents up. Yes, different case if the parent overslept once in a while. Hota hai. Children wake up, then that's the piety of that child. And that piety is generally because the parents gave that nurturing. But sadly, there are many homes in which the husband is trying to implement Allah's deen and the wife does not want it. And the wife, there's homes where she is saying, let the children read Quran and become Hafiz, and the father says, let them see television. What is the reason for this? We have forgotten. We have forgotten. Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fiha. We have forgotten that Qiyaamat is going to come. We have forgotten that Allah is saying on the Holy Quran, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. We are forgetting that Allah is saying, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. Allah will rise all those who are in the graves. We have forgotten what we heard from the time we were children. What was it? كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul is going to taste death. Everyone is going to be accountable on the day of Qiyaamat. And we must remember and we must understand the cause and the means of this ruin. The erosion of our community and the erosion of the essence and the spirit of our Dini community. What is the reason for this? This happens when the heart falls in love. What happens? When does this erosion take place? The spiritual erosion takes place? When the heart falls in love. But instead of falling in love with the akhirat, it falls in love with the dunya. When the heart falls in love with the dunya, this happens when the heart falls in love with the world and the person looks at deen, Allah forbid. The person and people start to look at deen. What do they look at deen as? Something that is hindering our progress. Allahu Akbar. Deen is hindering us from progressing. In one sense, they are right. If you adopt deen, it will hinder you from progressing in guna. It will hinder you from progressing in haram. It will block you from going towards that which displeases Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But if they say that it is hindering us from worldly progress, so we will say we are Muslims, but we live like the kafir. We will say we are the Muslims. Abdullah, but behavior is like Michael and John. Think about it. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is that we have fallen for the trap of shaitan. We have fallen for the trap of shaitan. You see, what does shaitan do? Shaitan places traps in the lives of the believers. Doesn't have to place those traps for the kuffar. Why? Because he knows that their place is already Jahannam. But for us, he places traps. Why does he place those traps? So that he gets you so involved and so drowned and so in love with these materialistic tools in the dunya that you become distant from the remembrance of your Rabb. The whole week, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. The whole week you hear sometimes the women talking, I'm waiting for that day to come, certain program at certain time. I want to follow it, I can't miss. I want to know. And half of the time, well, always it's garba. But today we want to know what destroys a home. That. What destroys marriages? That. The kuffar have put it there to destroy us, we have fallen for it. But how will there be that somebody says, my father-in-law doesn't respect me. Well, you sit together with him and you are seeing naked and nudeness on the television screen. How will he respect you? My son and my children don't respect. What are you doing? These are things that we don't talk about. We have to talk about it. We have to start talking about these things. Because this is destroying the essence of our community. It is destroying the spirit of Islamic society. Why is all this happening? Because shaitan has placed the traps in the way. Inna shaitana lil insani adu mubin. Indeed, shaitan is your manifest open enemy. We forget about it. We forget Qiyaamat is going to come. We forget Allah is going to raise us from the graves. We forget that the day is going to come when we're going to stand before our Rabb. We forget there is a day when we're going to stand on the zameen by the command of Allah after being risen, and we're going to answer for our life's deeds. We're going to have to give accountability on that day. And regarding that day, it is in Bukhari. Where it is? It is in Bukhari. That the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that on the day of Qiyaamat, people will be sweating profusely. Because on that day the sun will be above your head. It came in the Hadith al-Mubarakah, one span above your head. The sun is going to be one span above your head. And on that day you're going to answer, we're all going to answer for our life's deeds, our accountability. And on that day, while you are standing to answer, the beloved Rasul is saying, it is Bukhari. The beloved Rasul is sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, people will stand on that day, they will be sweating profusely. See how you sweat today, it's 31 degrees. Go stand outside for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Kya hal hota? Run inside for the air conditioning. Run inside for the fan. Today people have the same bimari. Maulana, I don't go there, I go there to read namaz because they got air conditioning. Although that is a bad mazhab place. Although that is not a place of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. Go and take the coolness now, akhirat mein jahannam ki aag milegi. Is that what you want? Why is this happening? Because we have forgotten that the day of Qiyaamat is going to come. Stand outside for 15 minutes and see what happens to all of us. Halat kharab ho jati. The intense heat, perspiration. The beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that on the day of Qiyaamat, people will sweat profusely. They will be perspiring so much that the perspiration will be soaked into the ground, and the ground will not have space to hold it anymore. And it will come out and spread over 70 hand lengths on Maidan al-Mahshar. It will spread over 70 hand lengths, and the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, until there will be those who will be in their own perspiration up to their ears. Up to where? Up to their ears. And one riwayat it is that it will be like the reins of an animal in its mouth. That will be the condition on the day of Qiyaamat. Now think about it. Think about it. What have we done for that day? What have we done for that day? Allah is saying, Inna as-sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fiha. Allah is saying that that day is going to come. That hour is going to come, and Allah is telling you definitely it's going to come. And He's still telling you, La rayba fiha. There's no doubt in it. There's no doubt in it. A day when it comes, it will come with everything that I promised. It will come with everything that Almighty Allah promised. But still we want to die for this life. We still want to compromise Allah's deen. We still want to become the Westerners. We still want to make our deen second hand, secondary, and we want to make the dunya primary. We are all, to some level or the other, guilty of this, except for those whom Allah has saved from it. But think, what did Huzur Sayyidi TaajushShariah tell us? He said, Zindagi ye nahi hai kisi ke liye. Zindagi ye nabi ke liye. Na samajh marte hai zindagi ke liye. Jeena marna hai sab kuch nabi ke liye. Think about it. And we are talking about Qiyaamat even before that. We are talking about Qiyaamat. Let me remind yourself and myself. We are talking about Qiyaamat. Allahu Akbar. What about death? What about death? Do you know that what Hazrat Maysara radiallahu anh said? Hazrat Maysara radiallahu anh presented a legend, it is reported, if just a single drop, one drop of the taklif of maut, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Hazrat Maysara is reporting that if one drop, if a single drop from the agony, from the taklif of death, Allahu Akbar, one drop, not a bucket, not a bucket, not equal to a spoon, one drop of the agony of death has to be trickled onto all those living in the skies and the earth, not onto one person. If one drop of the agony of death has to be trickled unto all those living on the skies and on the earth, then all of them will die due to this agony. Then all of them will die due to this agony, one drop of the agony of maut. Ready for that? How many of us? One drop of the agony of maut. If it has to put upon all the living, they will all die. They will cease, the human, the creation will cease to exist. One drop of the agony of death. And what did he say after that? What did he say after that? He said, yet one moment of the agony of Qiyaamat. Yet one moment of the agony of Qiyaamat is 70 times more than that one drop. Allahu Akbar. One moment of that day will be equal to approximately 50,000 years. One moment of that day is more intense than that one drop that will cause the entire creation to cease to exist if it's dropped on them. 70 times more intense than that is the day of Qiyamah. That is why Allah is warning us, Inna sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fiha. Day of Qiyamah is going to come, there is no doubt. There is no doubt. We don't care. We don't care. We forget about this. Quran says, وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Qiyaamat is going to come, but most of the people don't believe this. Talking about the kuffar. We believe, but why are we so unconscious? All of us, why are we so unconscious of it? How many of us, simple thing I want to tell you about. How many of us, before we perform salah, I'm not even talking about salah now, I'm talking about before. How many people make sure that when they make wudu, they are being thorough? Watch how many people in inverted commas make slapdash shoes. Qiyaamat is going to come. You're going to die. One drop of the agony of maut, if it falls onto all the people of the skies and earth, they will die. And the one moment of Qiyaamat is 70 times more intense than that. How many of us pay attention to even the wudu? Leave your salah, we'll talk about that just now. How many of us pay attention to this wudu that we perform? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, let me tell you,
Let me tell you how beautiful this wudu is. Make it a habit to stay in wudu, to the best of your ability. Try not to leave the door of your house in the morning without wudu. How long does it take? How long does it take to make wudu? Make wudu thoroughly. Leave your house with wudu every day. Make it your habit. Do not go onto your bed at night to sleep without wudu. Try. Make the attempt. Because you don't know when death will come to you. Death is going to come. Qiyaamat is going to come. Death is going to come. Make wudu. The reason that a lot of the guna happens is because a person is in a state of non-wudu. If he's in the state of wudu, he'll try to do good things. He'll remember himself that this wudu is a means for ibadah. This is a means for protection. The beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Allahu Akbar. The beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that that person whose ruh is removed while in the state of wudu. Subhanallah. The beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that person whose wudu, whose ruh is removed by malakul maut, by angel of death in the state of wudu, he will raise on the day of Qiyaamat, he will wake up, he will rise on the day of Qiyaamat in the ranks of the shuhada. Subhanallah. Now, can we not do this? Is it difficult? Why am I telling you this? We're talking about Qiyaamat. Why am I telling you this? Because on that day, the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you make wudu, increase. Meaning if this wudu says wash up to here, wash a little bit more. Wash up to the, including wash a little bit more. Why? The beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam increase your nur, because it will be blessing means of your glory on the day of Qiyaamat. You will be shining on the Maidan Mahshar on the day of Qiyaamat. But we do not understand the importance of this. Today, we do not care about ibadah. As I said, we're running behind dunya. Our hearts have fallen in love with the dunya. How many people you have to force them, please, down namaz paro bhai. How many times you have to force our kids and shout, go and read namaz. Did you read? Do we do it? Do we not do it? I hope you are doing it. Because if you're not, then you're also liable. Okay? How many times what we have to say? But sometimes, again, as I said, the children have to say, Abba, namaz. And the children have to say. What does this mean? Have we forgotten the benefits of putting your head in sajda? Have we forgotten how much of benefit there is when you put your head in sajda? It is reported from Ata Khurasani that on whichever portion of the ground a person performs sajda, we know this. On whichever portion of the ground a person performs sajda whilst on the earth, that portion of the earth will weep over him when he dies. Whether anybody else cries for you or not, that zameen will cry. Whether anybody else worries about you or not, that zameen will worry. And on the day of Qiyaamat, that piece of land will come as your witness. It will come as your supporter. Now somebody is telling you, come towards deen, do the good things. I'm not talking about the Badwazab who are saying come towards deen. They don't have deen themselves. I'm talking about the Ahlul Sunnah. Come perform salah, do your good things, read Quran, go to Milad Sharif, do Qiyaamat Sharif. I am too tired. I'll change slowly when I'm a little bit older. Did death wait for you to become older? Did maut wait for you to become older? Have we forgotten that inna sa'ata la'atiyatun la rayba fiha? That Qiyaamat will come, but on that day you will answer for what you did in the life. After you die, there will be no chance. It's about this world. And this dunya, this zameen that you read your salah on, that you do your good things on, this thinks about you. It came in one narration that Hazrat Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Imam al-Mufassirin, he says that when a mu'min passes away, a true believer when he passes away, that every morning for 40 days, the zameen weeps over him. How many days? 40 days. How many days? 40 days. Zameen weeps over him. For 40 days we read your sin and make it so. What's the problem? Simple. What's the problem? To understand. So it is very important for us to understand that we must change before maut comes to us, because Qiyaamat is going to come. We are going to answer in the hereafter. We are going to be responsible for our own deeds. And I'm ending with this, a narration which you heard many times. There's a hadith in Mubarakah that the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was ascending the mimbar. How many, and why I'm saying this is, people want to to do everything that the dunya says. They don't want to make salah. They don't want to dress Islamically. They don't want to follow the rules of the Sharia. They don't want to even spend 10 minutes to read Durud Sharif. It's too difficult. They don't want to respect their parents. They don't want to take the blessings that Allah has given them. Then what are we going to do on Qiyaamat Day? How are we going to handle that day? Yes, we depend on the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But to get that intercession, you need to go with Iman. If you have nothing left, what will you do? Because you must remember, when amal gets finished, it slowly erodes Iman. And nothing will be left. So the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the brief, I'm giving the gist of the hadith. You've heard it probably many times. That the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ascended the mimbar. The Sahaba Ikram were close to the mimbar. And they say, we saw Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ascending the mimbar. And when the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam took each step, he said, Ameen. Every step that he took, 3 steps on the mimbar, he said, Ameen. After the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam alighted from the mimbar, the Sahaba Ikram said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, today we saw you do something that you never did before. Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why did you say Ameen as you ascended each step? The beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Jibril Amin alayhi salatu wasallam had come at that time. Jibril Amin alayhi salatu wasallam had descended. And as I ascended the step, he said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may that person who gets the month of Ramadan, may that person who gets the month of Ramadan and fails to attend pardon, fails to attend Allah's forgiveness, maghfirah, bakshish, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may that person become distant from the mercy of Allah and he may be ruined. I said, Ameen. Who is saying Ameen? He said, when I took the second step, he said that may that person whose parents or one of his both parents were alive and he could not attain Jannah through them. Ya Rasulullah, may that person be distant from the mercy of Allah and may he be ruined. He said, I said, Ameen. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when I ascended again, Hazrat Jibril Amin alayhi salatu wasalam said, may that person before whom your name is taken and he does not recite Durud Sharif be distant from the mercy of Allah and may he be ruined. Before whom your name is mentioned. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ameen. Think about it. Qiyaamat is going to come. And what the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the closest to me on that day will be the ones who read Durud upon me the most. Change before it's too late. I'm saying to myself, and I'm saying to you, Allah is telling us Qiyaamat is going to come. Allah is telling us that He is going to raise us from our graves. Allah is telling us death is going to come to us. But we are still not learning. We are still not wishing to change our lives. Why? Where I started off. We are falling in love with this world. And we love it to such an extent that we are willing to destroy our hereafter because of this dunya. May Allah give us so much. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand. May Allah give us understanding of deen. May Allah bless us all with asking forgiveness in His court. May He give us the tawfiq of tawbah and nasuha to make tawbah to the sadq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us with Iman and let us leave this world with Iman when our time comes. All those who are in and out community, Allah grant them Shifa Kamil, Sayyid Ajil, all those that have passed away, Allah exalt them in Jannat al-Na'im, those that we know of or not know of, those who are going through any calamities and difficulties among the Sunnah. May Allah alleviate the calamities and alleviate the difficulties. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.